I get to actually kind of come out uncensored on this one because I want to thank everybody and my boss, John Trent, the amazing John Trent, lead our lead man of Bounding into Comics for an awesome stream. If you missed it, we broke down the new Birds of Prey trailer, which I am sad to report falls short in so many ways of expectation. And we just as the chat started to really ramp up and we got into some interesting discussions, sadly we had to go, so I figured I'd take a brief break and then invite everyone over here to sort of continue the discussion. And see, over here, because my channel is so small and I'm not monetized, and nor do I have a lot of subs yet, so we can kind of say our piece. And it also kind of eases up things on the metrics. So we kind of have to, on the Bounding channel, sort of, if we want to reach people and everything else, we have to kind of sort of frame our thoughts in an eloquent way where we can get our point across, but not screw up the algorithm so it screws us on everything else. But on my channel, well, like I said, I will be brutally honest, tell it like it is, and I really don't care about the consequences, because I'm not one of these YouTubers that gets on here and worries about every last dollar. I mean, I'm a starving writer, yes. I'm taking care of a sick 80-year-old mom with cancer, and sure, I could use all kinds of money, but I'm not in the YouTube game to make money. No, I would rather be passionate about the things that I write about and standing up for, common sense. And this is something that we're lacking in entertainment. And the Birds of Prey trailer framed it pretty well. You have potential for a really good sort of unpolished gem from DC, where you could have really gone in and explored some very complex and interesting characters. And instead, the way that the trailer does it, it's more, number one, it's a way over-featured Harley Quinn. And number two, you can see that it strays away from the source material. It's very agenda-centric. And this is a problem today that we have, because it seems like all of our entertainment, I'm at Bounding into Comics, I specialize in Star Wars, as we all do, Battlestar Galactica, video games. I have a good pulse of the streaming community as well, as far as Twitch and Mixer and YouTube. And the thing is, when you see the different forms of entertainment, the different entertainment mediums we had, specifically movies and video games and television, there is a very fragmented sort of audience now, because of the fact that they're not marketing to, I guess, common sense people anymore. They are going after, they've weaponized agenda. I mean, let's be real. They've weaponized agenda, and that's what it is. It's because they disagree with something, whether it be the current person that is in charge of the country, whether it be different societal norms, whatever they disagree with, they're putting that out there as the forefront and basis to frame a story around instead of source material. And this is a real problem. It's increasingly becoming a problem in gaming, and it is a very, very, very prevalent issue in television and movies. And the Birds of Prey trailer illustrates this perfectly because instead of really letting some of these characters shine, number one, the visually the costuming and the looks of these characters, and DC fans will tell you this, they don't look anywhere near the counterparts that they have in the comics, and that is a problem. If you want a comic book movie to succeed, first thing that you need to nail is the look of the character. We can see from the trailer, even Harley, to a large degree, does not really look like Harley. She looks more like that homeless chick that you that you find that is like, hey man, can you give me some money, bro? And she's willing to do whatever it takes. I mean, it don't look right. I mean, we went through and looked at the character. Victor Zsasz looks terrible. About the only thing that they got right was Huntress. She has a pretty good look, but for the most part, it seems more like let's hodgepodge everything together so we can make a girl power film, and that's it. Whether it makes sense, be damned. We just want to put a bunch of women together on the screen, and I highly disagree with that method. Script Doctor, you say, I think there is a misunderstanding of the metrics and marketing departments. They're drawing from a pool like Twitter as opposed to on-the-ground methods. Yeah, you have a good point with that, because I do believe that they are going after that Twitter mindset. They want the very outspoken, on the fringe of radical, like liberal people, and they're almost exclusively going after that audience, as opposed to normal, like in the middle, common sense, centrist thinking type people, which most of us are. If you got down to it, and especially in this day and age, and I'm kind of waxing political here, but you guys will get this. If you sat there and asked Democrats and Republicans off the record, just the normal average everyday Joes, everyday citizens, most people are going to skew centrist, probably what would be framed as libertarian to a degree. There's very few like dyed in the wool hardcore conservatives, and there's very few like actual like really way out there space case liberals. Most people come from a place of somewhere in the middle. They might be leaning one way or the other, but they're coming from in the middle and leaning out. And most Americans have a common sense point of view. Young, old, black, white, Asian, any racial background you want to go with, any metric you want to go by. But unfortunately, Hollywood and the video game developers and even people that write books, see, they're not understanding this, or they're willfully ignorant of marketing to this, because right now there's such a groundswell of Orange Man bad, and that's a problem. That's a serious problem, because you can make a social or a political commentary, but every single stinking movie should not underlying be about just bagging on society and bagging on the person in the White House, and that's exactly what it is. We've gotten to where the Trump derangement syndrome has essentially ruined modern entertainment, because they've gone absolutely batshit off the rails, and it's not going to get any better, because with 2020 coming up, you're going to continue to get movies, even if they're quote unquote reboots or supposedly faithful to a franchise that they're trying to resurrect. You're going to get things, they'll take little things from the franchise and try to like package it that it looks like it's that franchise, but when you see it on the screen or on your television, all it is a bunch of preachy nonsense. That's designed to get you to be up in your feelings in some type of way. There's no actual social commentary that makes you think anymore. And this is why Star Trek Deep Space Nine was so good when it was out. They had episodes routinely that dealt with social issues, and they presented it in a way that left it up to the audience, because they fairly presented both sides of a dilemma, both sides of an issue, and it made for fascinating television, and that was why. Battlestar Galactica, much the same way, the 2004 show did that. I mean, sure, BSG was a little bit more, I guess, before we want to say woke, it was a little more woke, but it was very much still same formula. They were respectful of the viewer and weren't preachy. It could get preachy at and there were a few preachy moments, but for the most part, that show, they were very fair to the viewer and left it up to the viewer. Script Doctor says, I found that in the comic book genre, there's been a significant lack of role models in our heroes. How many interpretations have we seen that we'd want to be like or have our children be like? And that's another thing. And the problem is, Script Doctor, is again, and you see it, specifically when they hired Zoe Quinn for both Marvel and DC. Now, what sort of experience does that woman have, other than the fact that she's been an outspoken activist? She has no chops. She has no training. She has no actual ability for that job. So why would you hire somebody like that? So if she makes a character, there's already an agenda bias when she makes that character, when she writes that character. It's all going to be a bunch of politically charged nonsense. There's going to be no depth there, because unfortunately, that is the type of people that they're hiring in the industry. And you're exactly right. That's why we're not getting quality, like any new heroes, any quality heroes, and our established heroes are being written increasingly to suit this type of agenda. And in the process, it's ruining the traditional way that people have looked at them, the high regard that people have held these characters in. It's literally ruining the characters for people because you know, like like you're gonna turn Batman into a wimp. You're gonna turn Captain America into a Nazi. I mean, come on. I mean, it's just you're gonna cuckold Thor. I mean, come on. But this is what we're getting now. I mean, when I was a young boy, and granted, I'm 45 years old, you guys. So, I grew up on reading, the Amazing Spider-Man, Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. I read Uncanny X-Men. I read the stuff at a time when comics were so great. They were so great. Larry Hama's G.I. Joe, the original comics that were out. I mean, so good, so good. Even the Transformers comic books. Oh my God, Alpha Flight. I could go on and on. There were so many that I liked, but in each and every one of those, man, heroes were heroes. Things were complex, but heroes were heroes. They had their principles, their values. They, looked to uplift the weak, help people, and young people that read these could aspire to better themselves. Exactly, script doctor. Exactly. And that's a problem. We have this issue right now where you take, for example, the stuff with the new Joker movie. Okay. You have, and I've seen this on my Twitter timeline recently, where you have like people that are you have actual police departments preparing for violence because like the activist journos have gone off the rails, painting it as oh my God, it's going to be incel terrorism. When the Joker opens, it's like they're actually trying to speak this into existence so that somebody commits a movie theater massacre again, and it's like it's over the top. And also, there's been this problem of casually throwing out terms. I mean, we've already, if you look at it with all this crazy SJW nonsense, we've already devalued the term racist. We've already devalued the term bigot. We've already devalued, the term homophobe, because they're tossed around so generally and so commonly that you don't know an actual racist, homophobe, bigot, whatever, from an average person, because those labels are such interchangeable tags. They just throw it out there. It's the same thing when you're a man and you're dealing with very hardcore third wave feminists, and they they call you sexist because you just enjoy the beauty in a woman. I mean, it's crazy, or you can look a woman's direction and you can be literally for 30 seconds you look off to the side to look at a woman's direction, you can be labeled as creeping on her now, or worse, you could be labeled as a predator for no apparent reason. But this is the society we live in, unfortunately, and and it's such an alarmist society, and the SJW culture, cancel culture, everything shitty that's come out of the SJW type of stuff has turned society on its head because, again, it's turned people into a bunch of crazy alarmists. And people that have common sense normally, they stay in their lane and they don't say anything out of fear of being, Twitter mobbed by these people. And that's it in a nutshell. I can't break it down any more plain. We all know that. Script Doctor knows it. He sees it because Script Doctor, same as I do, he follows most of the goings on in the Phantom Menace and things like that, and we observe and see what's happening, and some of the hell that the other YouTubers go through, and it's crazy, people on Twitter are nuts, and there is a rampant amount of the very radical on Twitter. But to get back to on topic, what's wrong with our entertainment? I mean, that's exactly it. Radicalism and activism has trumped common sense, and it's entered the entertainment arena that way, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. And see, that's why when you get certain gems, like you had the Shaft movie that didn't give two shits about SJW culture. It just was what it was. The new Rambo movie doesn't give two shits about SJW culture. It's just for Rambo folks. The Ghostbusters that is coming out in 2020 has nothing to do with the Wokebusters from 2016, thankfully. It's a proper sequel. And it has nothing to do with SJW culture. It has everything to do with the fans. And this is why these movies succeed. They're always critically panned because the critics are mainly far left SJW critics. So they will routinely just absolutely lambaste these movies. But these movies are doing well because, they know that the fans want to see them. And, people are taking the time to actually craft something for fans of that particular franchise. And that's good. But it sucks because it's the exception and not the norm. And that is a serious issue. This is unfortunately what we have for Birds of Prey. Now, we had a gentleman that came in our chat, as we were doing our Birds of Prey breakdown, and he absolutely was upset. He said that myself and John and the people at Bounding that we're just we just look at it through a and I'm cleaning this up because he had a lot of spelling issues, and he wasn't exactly eloquent in the way that he framed it, but he was getting at the fact that we look at it through just one lens. We look at it through a conservative lens, and we want people to hate it. And we have a bias, and it's like, no, we do not have a bias. See, this is why I embrace the fandom menace, and this is why, in the larger sense, this is why I am very proud and honored that I write for Bounding Into Comics, because when I look at a piece of entertainment, I always want to have the integrity to give people an honest opinion. And I also have principles as to where, I understand the difference of good quality entertainment that is faithful to the source material versus entertainment that is, an agenda vehicle. And I have a bias regarding quality. And I feel that when you put out entertainment, you should put it out for the fans. I mean, that should be the number one reason. It should be to put a smile on people's faces, to entertain them, not to preach to them, not to try to socially engineer them, just flat out entertainment. People go to the movies, people watch television, people read books for an escape. People play video games for an escape. And unfortunately, because these were our normal escapes before, it sucks because we provide a captive audience for people that don't have our best interest at heart. And that, I think, is what pains me the most. So the reason that I embrace what the principle that the fandom menace stands for is, I stand for quality, and I stand for no BS. I don't like when entertainment companies take advantage of people or try to forcefully change people, and I think that's wrong. So I will always tell it like it is. And I know I'm going to get flack, and I'm prepared for it. I mean, hey, it ain't any different being an Asian guy growing up in in a predominantly black and white community and going to high school. Hey, look at the Asian guy, and hey, I've rolled with the punches all my life, man. But hey, it is what it is. So I know the struggle, and you don't see me like ever whining, moaning, saying, "Hey, I need special treatment because." Yeah. But if female-led movies are bad and we don't acknowledge it, then we're going to keep getting bad female-led movies. Exactly. You are 100%. Script Doctor, I love you, dude. I just want to say, man, I have a man crush on you because, brother, you have the most common sense of common sense views. And, dude, I cannot tell you how much respect I have for you about that. Because, you're right. We have to hold our entertainment in general, not just movies, our video games, our television, everything. We have to hold it to a higher standard because, obviously we understand what it was before it went off the rails. We know. I mean, it's definitely been a downturn in quality. And you have to ask yourself why. And it's just, there really isn't a good reason behind it, other than the fact that, entertainment has been co-opted into a personal agenda vehicle for activist people. And it's sad. But, I am not going to put on the tinfoil hat and go all Alex Jones on you, because that's a story for another time. I mean, because it's funny. I'm back on Twitch when I used to stream on Twitch quite a bit. Towards the end of my streaming run on Twitch, I used to do a lot of political streams, and I would get people worked up because I would talk about the whole UN Agenda 21 and 2030 and about the globalists, and I still believe that's a very real threat. Don't kid yourself, because if you put two and two together, guys, and when and I'm not just talking about the impeachment situation, but if you put two and two together and you take your chosen political party out of it, okay, take the D or the R away from your name. But if you actually, peeled layer by layer back and looked deep into literally the amount of corruption in our own government and around the world, and if there was actually independent investigations on just who was corrupt, I think it would curl all our toes and blow our minds at the amount of mass corruption that's going on. And I think there's a lot of very confused and very, and if they're not confused, just very bad people out there looking to either dumb people down or convert people to a certain way of behavior or something like that in order to just make grabs for absolute power. And I do believe that's happening. There is mass corruption, but people don't want to see that because they're so busy being divided and tied to that D or R next to your name, and that, that's part of the problem. That is part of the problem. But Script Doctor, it started going off the rails around 2001 with how Smallville was approached. Exactly, and I could see it back then, dude. As I said, I was a very, very, very big fan of BSG, and that came out around 03, 04. Miniseries was 03, series was 04, and even that, I think that started sort of a little bit of the wokeness, because there were times that show did get woke. I'm not going to lie. Again, it wasn't as bad and as prevalent as now because, they tried to really kind of curtail going full woke, and, they kept at least the viewer's best interest in mind, and that's good. But yeah, it's like you said about Smallville, same thing. And then you have, I guess if you really want to pinpoint where it started, post 9/11, dude. It's just post 9/11. 9/11 changed everything, and the entertainment industry as we know it, I think post 9/11 just was never the same. Never the same. But Script Doctor, you're exactly right. There's a lot of things that, it's fascinating if you look back now that you can see just the seeding and the patterns of where this stuff started to see, sort of take hold, and now it's just, yeah, they don't even try to hide it, Yeah, that too. The writer's strike did that. Yeah, that was not good. Speaking of Script Doctor, you just need to write some stuff. Get all your stuff out in Hollywood, and we'd be better off. I think so. Yeah, I was talking about the the other day, my very first stream on this channel. I was talking about my story that I did on BSG and how the new reboot could work. And I still think if the dude that did Mr. Robot, because actually Mr. Robot's actually a pretty fairly good show. It has its share of wokeness in it, but it's actually a pretty fairly good show. If this dude does it right, and I still think he should do like a First Cylon War, he can create like such some very interesting characters. Hell, he could even take characters from the video game from BSG Deadlock and weave some of the story in from BSG Deadlock into the new show. And I think that's what they need to do is go First Cylon War with that, because I don't see any way possible you can really pick up from the ending of the other series, because at that point, if you're doing that, well, it's just Earth, and then it's just basically you're putting together what we already have known in real life as Space Force. So I mean, it's just not. There's not really any. There's not really anything you can do with that. So they would almost exclusively have to go First Cylon War. But I actually like to see that. I hope it does well. I hope the Mr. Robot guy has a good head on his shoulders, and he does a love letter to BSG the same way that the Moore series did, and it's already good that he's keeping in that continuity. So we'll see with that. Hopefully it's good. I do work in Hollywood about 5 months out of the year. I fix scripts professionally, but getting my own shows and movies is a little harder. Need more than one person to say yes to ideas these days. Yeah, I know. And the heads of those studios, dude, I hate to say it. And again, I don't want to put on the tinfoil hat, guys. I don't want to be like, Alex Jones Jr. here. But, most of the Hollywood studios are globalist owned, or some of them, which we won't name specifically, some of them actually have Chinese interests where, the Chinese actually own part of them. So, I don't need to connect the dots for you anymore. You guys can see the writing on the wall. And somebody, like Script Doctor, for example, he brings his ideas, and they're very non-woke, just common sense ideas to the table. And he presents something that's a good outline, good script for a franchise, and he gets flat out denied. But somebody comes along and puts an agenda-driven, poorly written thing together, they'll get their idea greenlit in a second because it supports the narrative. And that's what and again, that's a problem that we have now. Pretty curious on his take for BSG. If he finds a way to blend this into the 78 series, that would be impressive. Yeah, it's hard though with Script Doctor, because if you keep with the more continuity, it's hard to really blend 78 in. Now you can do what Battlestar Galactica Deadlock did, and I found that they added in some cool things, like had some cool nods to 78 in there, with the fact that the battle stars that were actually in the 78 show are considered the in the Moore universe continuity as the Artemis class battle star. The Artemis class light battle star, and that's pretty awesome, because you can weave that in and actually weave in the original Vipers. So if they can weave in elements like that, I think that would be very good. Yeah, I know. It sucks, you know. It really does. It just politics has ruined such good entertainment, and it's always the same beats, same identity politics over and over. You know, men bad, white people bad, um, straight people bad, and it's just they keep hammering on the same thing, same thing, and it's like, come on, it gets tired after a while. Where they keep they keep saying that they're a victim of these groups of people, but it's going to get to the point. It's already getting to the point. So many people are at the point they're ticked off. So they get red pilled, and and that's what we're seeing. And people are just coming to their senses, embracing common sense, and saying, fuck this, because you know we don't want to constantly be told that we're bad people for being traditionally straight, or for our heritage, the way we were born, the color of our skin. We're not. Yeah, no. Yeah, that is one good thing that came out of all this script doctor is I will say this for women in Hollywood, and even for some men, that whole casting couch philosophy is really creepy and really predatory, and I'm glad that got phased out too. I mean, it was awful. Um, yeah, there's really there's really just no place for that kind of behavior in any industry. I mean, yeah, that was just. I'm glad that got phased out. Absolutely right on that. That's the one standpoint of Me Too or Times Up or whatever you want to call it. That got, at least that got done right. But unfortunately, those movements got so blown out of control, and it didn't stop there. But that was the only good side effect of it. The one thing that I can say is, hopefully, in this day and age where technology is getting cheaper, somebody can actually make a movie on an iPhone now, and have it actually be pretty good. And there's all kind of like things you can do now with home editing programs and things like that, and you can actually make a good Hollywood quality short. I hope that more independent filmmakers and creators come forward and start making original good material, and that actually dare to break out of the woke bubble, and things like that. Because I think if that moves forward, and people can get behind things like that, you're going to see a shift in the industry and see it go back to back to some sort of common sense normalcy. And it's only going to come with people, that have the gumption and the courage to create, to do stuff. And, putting it out independently, it's a struggle. But, as we've seen, independent films, if they go viral, man, they can be a hit. So hey, I refuse to give up entire hope on the entertainment industry. I mean, I've given up hope on the mainstream media, but I haven't given up hope on the entertainment industry. Somewhere, somehow, I still have hope deep down that it can change. So we will see. This is actually a rare day for me, you guys. It's funny because the stuff I specialize in, there's just it's just a slow news day today in the stuff that I normally write about. So like, it's weird having free time to actually like come on here and rant and stream and everything else, because normally I'm sitting here banging out stories. And this is a weird day because there's not a whole hell of a lot going on other than a Birds of Prey trailer dropping, and I know John usually writes the stories dealing with the direct comic stuff. So yeah, I'm just kind of on free time mode at the moment. So it's nice because I get to come on and engage with you guys, and it's a good thing. I really enjoy it. Yeah, Script Doctor, you're right about that. If independent creators can make some non-woke projects that have natural diversity, that makes a ton of money. And see, here's the thing. That people don't understand. Oh God, this grinds my gears. They're all the time bitching about diversity. But, you take something, for example, like the X-Men. The X-Men were revolutionary because in comics, they were the first big diverse team. If you go over to G.I. Joe, the cartoon, okay, we're talking 1983, 1984 here, right? G.I. Joe, the cartoon, again, diversity. So many different people of all races, colors, creeds on the Joe team and in Cobra. I mean, amazing. Before its time, again. There's even more examples. You want to go precursor to anime blowing up in the West. All right. Robotech, which I've seen Macross and I've seen Robotech, and I can tell you I'm in the minority that prefers Robotech, but Macross is good. I know widely considered to be deeper because there's a lot of stuff in Macross that didn't make it over to Robotech to Western audiences. But the thing is, with Robotech, again, diversity. So many things before their time. Yet people want to sit here and purvey that garbage argument that there's not diversity in entertainment. There's always been diversity in entertainment. But people don't want to act like it happened. I mean, if you go on the female side, we're talking about female-led movies and things like that. You're talking strong female heroes. You want to look at Sarah Connor. You want to look at Ripley. You want to look at people like that. I mean, most recently, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I mean, she was freaking amazing. You can do it without shoehorning and forcing. The reason why the reason why these female characters are so awesome, they have built-in turmoil and struggle, and they rise above, and you know they really proved that you can be a female hero, and that is the difference now. Everything is so forced now, and that's what takes away from the entertainment quality and believability of a story. That's why Rey is so screwed up in Star Wars. She would have been great had she been well written. She would have been awesome. Exactly. You just want to talk about a talented actress. Script doctor brings up Lucille Ball. Lucille Ball was a pioneer, man. She really showed that a female actress could have true depth and things like that. Same as you look at oh God, way back when, I'm trying to think of it. In comedy, Carol Burnett. But again, man, we don't have those kind of gems like that now. Instead, these days, we're stuck with the Brie Larsons of the world and people like that can't shut up for 5 minutes about their political leanings and their their latest cause and call for activism. They can't shut up about it and just embrace the fact that wake up in the morning and say, man, friggin' Hollywood actor. How awesome is that? And just be happy and humble for what you have. These people aren't. They just, they're like, oh, I'm going to use my platform. Well, that's great. But you know what? If you want to use your platform, you do it by action and not words. You don't try to, convert people. You just do. Exactly. Yo, Megan Shetty, my boy, is in the house. What is up, dude? But yeah, Script Doctor, you're exactly right. If they gave Rey a one that's not related to Wayne, it would have been a good start to developing her character. Exactly, dude. Exactly. Had she even found out early on about her force abilities and even sort of self-trained, and went through her own trials even before she ran into, before they sort of worked her around to where she was going to go off and see Luke. Just stuff. I should go through normal stuff, man. Man, it's really good to see you, Mac Jetty. I'm glad that you came in here. So thank you so much. Is the younger generation sad they weren't part of the civic movements of the past, like civil rights? I wonder that too, Script Doctor. But see, here's a problem with that. They got a lot of people that are big on revising history, because they feel like somehow they're not on the correct side of history. So they go back and poo-poo an event of historical significance because it doesn't fit the 2019 narrative. And I have a serious problem with that. And it almost makes me wonder if younger people now, or the activist crowd now, just hates history. Because, I will bang the drum all day for preservation of history, both good and bad, warts and all. We got to have it, because if you don't preserve your history and you don't take an interest and understand where you came from, you are bound to repeat it. Bound to repeat it. And that's why, no coincidence. Right now, we're so divided and tempers are flaring so much. We're on the precipice of a possible, flare up. I don't think it would ever go into a full scale civil war like they try to say it will, but there are going to be flare ups, and we are on that precipice of there being some severe flare ups where it's going to be citizen against citizen, and that's not a good look. But again, people are conveniently revising history, and that's not good. I've seen A Clockwork Orange. I've seen 1984. I've seen, things like that. My God, if you want a good social commentary, the late Roddy Piper, They Live, says it all. Says it all right now. I mean, that movie was ahead of its time. Basically called out the corrupt mainstream media, and lo and behold, look what we have now. And that was a cautionary tale back then. History has some ugly stories that our ancestors took part in, but while we may apologize on their behalf, we can't apologize for our role because we weren't there. Yes. Jeff, you are 100% correct. And that's a problem. But see, when you try to explain that to somebody whose mind is already made up and it's mush, their brain is just activist mush, you cannot get through to them because they don't understand that history actually has value. And it pains me, this whole thing that we've gone through with statues, with the rebel battle flag, the Dukes of Hazzard being a casualty of the cancel culture because of the rebel battle flag. I mean, are you serious now? And it's funny because speaking on Dukes of Hazzard, because you guys are fairly close to my age, so you grew up on Dukes of Hazzard as well. Dukes of Hazzard was such a great show because it had family values. It portrayed a family being together, a good Southern country family that had values. They actually took time to sit at the supper table, and even the people that were the antagonists, their own rivals, would come over for dinner. You don't see that now. You don't see that now. You don't see those types of values brought forth. And it's so sad to me. But that show it got unceremoniously kicked out of syndication. Why? Because someone got offended at a symbol that they totally mistook one way, and it's sad because again that show was a show that had great values. And when you get down to it, it did give kids, hey, it spawned a generation of kids that were interested in cars. I mean, yeah, that it got me. I remember seeing that show as a kid, and the side of Daisy Duke, which turned me into a leg man. It got me interested in cars and things like that. But the thing that was important in all of that is it also showed me, It also taught us the importance of being together with family. And again, that's the thing. It doesn't seem anymore like you see a whole lot of television shows or anything else that portray families getting together, sitting at the supper table, a strong family unit. You don't see, a husband, a wife, children, the parents of the husband and wife sitting there with them. And exactly, Jeff. I'm from Ohio, born and raised. I grew up here, but I understand what it means, and exactly, it doesn't represent that. Exactly. No, that's what I'm saying. People are so activism be damned, and so so quick to be offended that they don't understand the true meaning of symbols. I mean, because if you just take the time to actually educate yourself and research symbolism, you can look into so many of these different things and understand why they're important symbols or what their true meaning is. But people don't want to do that. And then when people actually that are educated call these people out on their ignorance, then they go in and bury like the videos and things like that, because they what it boils down to is they do not understand that they can't be right 100% of the time. They absolutely hate the fact that they cannot be right and that somebody else is right, and they don't want to admit that they're wrong. And that's a problem. There's no accountability, and there's no humility either. The biggest struggle that you have as a human being sometimes is admitting when you're wrong, or just having the ability to agree to disagree. But for these people, God, they have such an overwhelming just drive that it's their way or the highway and they're right, that if you say anything to the contrary or try to present an opposition viewpoint in a very cogent and smart way to them, and lay it out to even make them think, they won't even think. They'll just toss insults at you or call names or anything else, and it's terrible. Exactly, guys, exactly. And again, Jeff, that is an admirable way to write a story. And that's what I'm saying. We need more things like that in society. That really needs to make a comeback, because there is a soft war, and I mean this, guys, and you can see it. We talk about the culture war all the time. Being fandom menace people and following the different YouTubers in the fandom menace, but it's a for real thing. And things like the nuclear family, sitting together at the supper table, just family gatherings, the family mindset, it's under attack. It's the same thing with being religious. It's hard to come out and say you're a Catholic now, because all of a sudden that's looked down upon. Since the whole controversy with the Covington kids, Catholics have been demonized. Christians in general are demonized. Christians are getting slaughtered around the world, and nobody cares. But if shoe was on the other foot, and Muslims were getting slaughtered around the world, which they still are, people would be up in arms about it. But that's the thing. See, everything has turned 180 degrees, and not for the better. And it's only going to get worse as we head into the whole 2020 election cycle, because I do believe that's going to play a part. And you're going to see a whole lot of woke overload. There's still going to be some stuff sprinkled in, as I mentioned when we were doing the bounding stream. We have a couple good things to look forward to. The new Ghostbusters is going to be good. There's going to be a couple other films that come in 2020. They're going to be real good. The Top Gun Maverick film is going to be really good. But all in all, it's going to be wokeness overload, and that sucks. I'm really hoping that the Mandalorian doesn't have like wokeness overload. I really hope that it doesn't. Yeah, I can understand that too. There is kind of there's a slight grudge about the Crusades. Oh man, yeah, there's always kind of been a slight grudge about that. Not a shining time for Christians. Yeah, script doctor. I fully believe that that might stimulate a change, and I think that's about the only way. If people vote with their wallet, that's about the only way that we're gonna affect any change with any of this stuff. It's the same thing with gaming, and I tell my gaming friends this all the time. I tell the gamers and the streamers I know, and it's like, if you don't want, woken nonsense, don't buy the game. Don't stream their game. Just take a stand, because, if you support it, if you say you don't want it, but you still support it, then, it doesn't help. If you actually want to affect change, you have to hit them where it hurts, and that's in the profit margin. And then, they'll set up and take notice. The Mandalorian, from all accounts, looks like it's going to be good. I mean, I have my fingers crossed. Dave Filoni being involved in it gives me some hope. And Jon Favreau. So we will see. I mean, it sucks. It's going to be hard for me to actually follow The Mandalorian, because, given my situation here at home, like I was kind of explaining earlier, script doctor, I work out of my home mainly because, my mom has cancer, and she is up in advanced stage. She's had a lot of strokes and everything. She has heart issues, and I basically live in and take care of her. So that takes the majority of my life every day, and I've been doing that for a number of years now, especially since my father passed away from cancer back in 2012. So yeah, that's just the reality of my daily life. So I don't, I mean, we have a lot of like medical oh yeah, unbelievable amount of medical debt that strangle us and everything else. And yeah, it sucks because I would love to have enough just to be able to get some of these streaming services and see these shows, but fortunately, I'm going to have to find another alternative. Jeff, no worries, man. Tell you what, I am thankful more every day, especially with the way things are going in the world. I am more thankful for the time that I get with my mom until, she completes her journey here and moves on into the next phase of life. Man, I am thankful for all the time I got with her. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't change it for the world. I mean, there's times I struggle with it. You know, when you get to be, in your 40s, if you don't have the whole like wife and kids set up and everything else, and you're on your own, and you kind of disgruntled at that point, and you kind of tend to do some navel gazing. I mean, I get it. I have those moments at times, but in the grand scheme of things, I would never change the fact that family comes first. And I also, I am thankful for the time that I do have with my mom, whatever time she has left. So I'm happy. And you know what? Hey, I get to spend time with you guys, and even though like we're not sitting around like at a coffee shop or around talking over lunch or whatever. I mean, I get to still, through the beauty of the internet, I can still sit here with you guys. We can share our opinions. We can have a conversation, and you know, I mean, I can't beat the company, and I love being able to write and work from home. I love writing for Bounding. You know, I mean, John's not here, but I will say, I'm forever grateful to John. That's a great story I want to share like super fast before I get back on topic because I know I kind of rambled, but it's funny. Uh, it's going close to 3 months now. I've been working for Bounding, and I reached out to John one day, DM'd him on Twitter. He runs the Bounding Twitter account, and I was just saying, hey man, I love your site. I love going on there, and I read Bounding on a daily basis. It's how I keep up on things, and and of course he replied back, said thanks and everything else, and I just happened to throw in there. I said, I have some limited writing experience. I worked for a newspaper briefly back in 2013. Yeah, writing about high school football. But if you guys ever need writers, I'd love to learn the craft. And lo and behold, next day he reaches out to me and he said, I know you don't have experience, but we'll take you on. And man, it's been great ever since. And there's been a great response to my writing and to my articles, and I love it. And I wouldn't change that. And it's great to be able to work from home. It really is. Script Doctor says, I feel for you, Drew. It's not a great situation, but being able to help and relish the time you have with her is something not many a chance to get to appreciate. Exactly. Jeff, I recently said goodbye to my aunt, who was the one that got me into Terminator. Sadly ironic that she passes shortly before the new one. I'm reluctant to see. Right, Jeff, but you know what? I know the one reason that you'll go is you'll honor that memory, and you'll go even if you got to grit your teeth and sit through what is probably, as we know, it's probably going to be a bad movie, but you'll go. And it's just for that connection. It's that connection. It's the same reason I would go if I had that type of connection. But, my condolences for your loss, buddy. Yeah. Prayers up, my dude. You know, Script Doctor, I wanted to say this with you. And one of these times, one of you guys are going to have to come on here, and we're going to have to do an actual panel about this, because I really want to get your guys' takes on why, sadly, we are not getting original new franchises. You know, and this seems to be a problem. It's a problem in gaming. It's a problem in television shows. It's a problem in movies. Definitely a problem in movies and gaming. Television shows, you still get new shows, but yeah, gaming and movies especially. And I definitely, at some point, I want to do a panel stream about that and explore that, because it seems to me that there seems to be a lack of that. I don't know if it's intentional or the fact that they're deliberately going the route of reviving just franchises on a regular basis. That's kind of alarming, actually. Yeah, exactly, Script Doctor. I want to get into that too. All right, guys, I'm gonna take a quick leak. I will be right back, because man, my back teeth are floating. That coffee's going right through me. I'll be right back. Oh man, much better, much better. Hey, got a third viewer up in here. What's up? Have a good one, Mega Jetty. Thanks, Jeff, for stopping by. Appreciate you. All right. So, I wanted to. I wanted to actually, it's funny, and this is off topic, but it kind of puts things in perspective. And I heard this thing the other day, and God, I remember being a little like wee lad, and when I used to go over my grandma's house back when I was a kid, I remember. She'd have the radio on and hearing Paul Harvey, and that's funny because when I got my degree in broadcasting back in '08, because I have my associates is in communications. Paul Harvey is always one of my broadcasting idols, as it turns out, over the years. I always had two broadcasting idols, Paul Harvey and Art Bell. And it's funny because, like, with Art Bell, when I got into listening to Coast to Coast, I know a lot of people like, oh man, you listen to that crazy alien show, but it makes you appreciate higher mysteries and things that we don't understand about our great planet and our world and things like that, and that's awesome. And Paul Harvey was always a champion of values, and that's what I like, and those guys. The thing is that is the common denominator between those is Paul Harvey and Art Bell were champions of truth, and when I got into now writing, I've tried to extend the same outlook of where, I ask questions and, I look for the truth. And I will always be that way, and that's the type of journalism that I want to do. I want to do journalism with integrity. And as long as I can continue to do that, and I appreciate you guys that watch me and follow me from Bounding and read my stuff. If there's ever a time that I stray from those principles, I want you guys to hold me accountable and call me out the same way that I call out BS in the entertainment industry. If I ever come across as not having journalistic integrity, man, please, I can always take constructive criticism. Call me out on it, because I strive to do that. That is a big thing with me. I always want to be 100% as real as it gets. I know I could do some funny rants, and I get worked up, like especially on the Bounding live streams, when some of the stuff, man, just makes me like full face palm. But when it gets down to it, it's about, like I said, integrity, and I 100% am a champion of truth and integrity. So I imagine here in the next couple minutes, I'm gonna wrap this up, though, because I want to. I need to actually start to think about getting some supper together for Mom and myself, and sort of help her get into the evening mode. So I do want to thank you guys for spending this time with me, and I think next stream, I'm not sure when my next stream is going to be, because my schedule is crazy funny all over the place, especially with writing, and in between that, with real life, with running Mom to various appointments and things like that. But one of the next upcoming streams I want to do is, like I said before, I definitely want to, Script Doctor, I definitely want to have you on as part of the panel, because I would love to get into that discussion about the lack of original, properties coming into entertainment. I'm with you on that. I think we could have a fascinating discussion about it. So, anyhow, thank you guys very much for watching. I will catch you guys soon, and you can catch me on boundingintocomics.com. Drew Taylor, I write under my real name, and you can also catch me on this channel. And at some point, if I get back into game streaming, I'm still deciding if I want to do Twitch or Mixer, but it'll probably be on Mixer. Once I get that going, I will share that information as well. But until next time, happy trails, au revoir, whichever way you want to say goodbye. We will meet again soon. So you guys take care. Peace. And I appreciate you.